Ever wondered how the apps you use every single day go from just a random idea to a real working tool on your phone? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the world of software development and really dig into the secrets of how these information systems get built. You know the feeling, right? Some apps just work. They feel intuitive, like magic. And then there are others that make you want to throw your phone against a wall. So what's the deal? What is the secret ingredient that makes some software amazing and other software just awful? Well, the answer might actually surprise you. It's not always about having the most brilliant programmers. The real magic, the thing that makes or breaks a project, often happens way before anyone even thinks about writing code. It's all about the journey, and that's the journey we're going to follow today.
Think about it like this. You wouldn't build a house without a solid blueprint, right? Of course not. And it's the exact same idea with software. This first planning phase is the foundation for everything, absolutely everything that comes after. It's where you plant the seeds for success or failure.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this whole process. It's called the systems development cycle. You can just think of it as a step-by-step playbook, a proven method for turning a messy, real-world problem into a clean, working solution, making sure you don't skip any of the important stuff. So, this cycle has 6 main stages. First, you analyze the problem, then you design the solution, then you do the programming, then you test it like crazy, then you actually launch it, and finally, you have to keep it alive and running. So let's jump in right at the start with the first 2 most critical pieces. This first phase is everything. It's where you figure out what the heck the problem even is, and then you start sketching out what a solution might look like. If you get this part wrong, you're basically building a skyscraper on a foundation of sand. It's just not going to end well. And here is the absolute key. At this stage, we're not talking about software. Not yet. We are talking about a business problem. What is really going on? What's causing it? And is technology even the right answer? This whole phase is basically detective work. And that means you have to dig really deep. You're not just looking at the symptoms, you're hunting for the root cause. And then you start asking the hard questions, right? Like, can we actually afford to do this? Do we have the people with the right skills? And maybe the most important question of all, what information do people actually need to do their jobs? And this right here is a huge warning. Seriously. If you don't get a crystal clear picture of what the system needs to do from day one, you are just setting yourself up for a world of pain. In fact, this is one of the biggest reasons that projects completely blow their budget or just fail altogether. Okay, so once you finally know what you need to build, then and only then can you start figuring out how you're going to build it. That brings us to the systems design phase. This is where you literally create the architectural blueprint for the entire system, from what the screens will look like to how the data is stored. Now here's another major landmine to avoid. You can design a system that is technically perfect, a real work of art, but if the people who actually have to use it every day find it confusing or unhelpful, then guess what? It's a failure. That's it. This is why getting constant feedback from your users during design isn't just a nice idea. It is absolutely essential. All right, the blueprints are signed off on. It is time to grab the hard hats and start building this thing. This is the part of the journey where the plan on paper starts to become a real, tangible product you can actually see and touch. Now, this is the stage that most people picture when they think about building software, right? The programmers take all those super detailed design documents and start turning them into thousands of lines of code. This might be done by a team inside the company, or sometimes it makes more sense to just buy the software from another company. But just writing the code is really only half the story, not even close. Now comes the intense part, testing everything to make sure it all works. First, you test every little piece by itself. That's unit testing. Then, you test how all the pieces work together. That's system testing. And finally, the most important test of all, the actual users get their hands on it to make sure it's ready for the real world. So, the system's built, it's been tested to death, and it's got the final approval. Phew! Now for the really nerve-wracking part, flipping the switch, and then keeping it alive for years to come. You can't just go live without a careful plan. There are basically 4 ways to do it. The parallel strategy is the safest. You run the old and new systems at the same time for a while. It's also the most expensive. The direct cutover is the riskiest. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid. You can also ease into it with a pilot study in just one part of the company or use a phased approach where you roll it out piece by piece. So you might be thinking, okay, this system is live, Everyone's celebrating, we're done. But the truth is, the journey has just entered what is often its longest and most costly phase of all.
And check this out, because this stat blows most people's minds. Only about 20% of all that maintenance work is actually fixing bugs. The vast majority, a whopping 60%, is spent on adding new features and making improvements that the users ask for. It just goes to show you, a system isn't something you build once and forget about. It's a living, breathing thing that has to evolve.
Now that whole step-by-step process we just walked through, that's the traditional by-the-book way to build a system. But in our fast-moving world, it is definitely not the only way. So let's take a quick look at some of the other paths you can take. The old-school method is called the waterfall model, because each stage has to be 100% finished before you can cascade down to the next one. It's very rigid. The modern philosophy is called Agile, and it's a completely different animal. It's all about breaking the project into tiny pieces, building something that works really fast, getting feedback, and then doing it again and again, constantly adapting.
And there are even more options. You can use prototyping, where you build a quick and dirty version just to get it in front of users and see what they think. There's rapid application development, which uses special tools to build systems incredibly fast. Or you could just outsource the whole thing and hire a team of outside experts to build it for you.
So behind every single app, every website, every bit of software you use, there is a hidden story. Maybe it was a long, slow, methodical waterfall journey. Or maybe it was a series of quick, chaotic, agile sprints. But either way, a deliberate process turned a simple idea into that tool you're using right now. It's kind of cool to think about the next time you tap, click, or swipe.